What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Drey Davis, and I'm here with my co-hosts Anthony Lights and Rafael Rhodes, and we're here today recording the Let Me Say This podcast. This week's episode is going to be pretty action-packed, like every other episode we've recorded in the previous weeks, but this week I want to start off pretty hot. So before we get into this episode, I want to send out my sincerest condolences to Kyron Lacey and his family after his recent passing this past Sunday. Want to send my condolences to all of his family back in Thibodaux, Louisiana, his high school, Thibodaux High School. He also was a previous member of the Louisiana Raging Cajuns and the Louisiana State University Tigers. So just want to send out my condolences, and we'll just give a brief moment of silence for him. Thank you. So, since I'm leading in this week, I want to start off this week very strong because this is a week that I feel like belongs to me. We have not yet touched on this podcast, but guys, it's WrestleMania week. It is ultimately the biggest week in sports entertainment, the business that is the wrestling capital. Once Vince McMahon's baby child and his creation, which was WrestleMania, some 41 years later, we have
You're not
one of the
allowed to say
greatest.
that name. You're not
Oh,
allowed to
I'm
say that
sorry,
name anymore.
not allowed to say that blacklisted name, but um, guys, this is gonna be a really action-packed week for wrestling. We're already at Wednesday of this week, at time of recording. Um, just let me know if there's anything you guys are looking forward to, anything that you've heard rumblings or rumors of. I've heard a ton of them, and I'm happy to get into them. But I just want to hear you guys' thoughts first on what you think about this year's WrestleMania.
Kind of want to just see how it plays out. You know how I am. I'm a big fan. I always enjoy night one, but more so, I know night two seems to be a little bit more action packed than night one. But I know this year's WrestleMania, we got the triple threat match main event between CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins. So I am looking forward to that. And then the heavyweight championship fight. So I want to see how that goes and see who else, like a Braun Breaker up and coming, see how he, moving forward, puts himself into the title picture. And I want to see, do we get a 17-time champion John Cena? Does he break the record that he holds with Ric Flair? And what are the plans moving forward? If so, they allowed him to break the record, or So I do want to kind of see that.
I'm interested in those too, but I'm more of acknowledge my tribal chief on this one. I got to acknowledge tribal chief. I'm excited for the triple threat match, probably the most, because I think watching him and CM Punk go at it and having Seth Rollins in there, I think that's a pretty good matchup for the sports entertainment world. So I'm excited about that because they can all go. With the John Cena, I think he's going to retire, but I don't think it's going to be at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be one of those, he'll get the championship, he'll hold on to it for a bit, give Cody something to battle back and forth, unless something crazy happens where The Rock intervenes and then he's coming back for SummerSlam or something like that. I think that's a beauty part about wrestling, right? Like you never know really what's going to happen because they hear the rumors too and they go, oh, we'll just flip it.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody expected Cena to turn heel. Like they just flipped it.
Not.
So I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle that. I think creatively, Triple H has done a really good job behind the scenes. I think he's got some good storylines. I also like LA Knight personally with Jacob Fatu. I think Jacob Fatu is pretty good too.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I'm excited about.
Yeah, I have to agree. The production of this year's WrestleMania, in comparison to kind of the last three, has been a little lower. I really think that the build up to this year's WrestleMania was kind of detoured by their European tour right before WrestleMania season. You take 3 or 4 weeks away from your home side crowd that ultimately builds the fuel to the fire, and because of that, I guess you could say lack of appearance or betrayal to the home side crowd. You see the effects with the ticket prices. The attendance numbers are being down. I also think that with some of the announcement of different PLEs to come in the future and the announcement of next year's being in New Orleans kind of shifted a lot of fans' focus. They see Las Vegas as more of a hotbed for spending, more chances to get into more trouble financially. So it's a place that a lot of people are avoiding as opposed to looking at this year's Super Bowl. Yeah, looking at this year's Super Bowl and seeing how successful it was, looking at the last time that WrestleMania was in New Orleans and looking at how much fun it could be next year. So, I think it's still going to be an action-packed WrestleMania overall, 13 matches total. There's a lot of debate that the night one is more action-packed. You have matches like you alluded to, Rafael, and Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. You got Jade Cargill and Naomi on night one. You opening very likely on that night with Gunther and Jey Uso with probably a title change to start the night. And then you're going to end the night with something that I believe is going to be more monumental going into night two in the future of WWE with that triple threat match. I think there's a bigger swerve, as you alluded to, Raphael, that is going to completely change the landscape of wrestling again. I was hearing rumblings and rumors that the numbers of days that Roman Reigns is going to be around and WWE is probably about to start dwindling. So with that, you're about to see a major shift and change, probably in the alignment of Paul Heyman that allows him to be in this industry for a lot longer, while we see the number of days in Roman Reigns decrease.
I
Um,
agree.
and again, not to take away from night two still has a phenomenal, match set. AJ Styles and Logan Paul. You got the fatal four way for the Intercontinental title, which I personally hope Dominic Mysterio wins. You got a street fight with Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. You got the women's triple threat match, and again, I think the reason that the luster is there with night two as opposed to night one is because there's more predictability as far as what we think is going to be the end of night two. I don't think there's a person in the world that doesn't say, hey, this is the right time for 17 to happen. This is the only stage where between now and if John Cena is set to retire at the end of the year, that everybody as a unison in the wrestling universe would probably be 100 times over more upset if he didn't win this weekend as opposed to winning.
Do you think
So
going to two nights for WrestleMania really kind of hurt the business a little bit, or do you think that's really not a factor?
No, I think two nights for WrestleMania, you need that because there are some we've seen some superstars, wrestlers, whatever you want to call them in the past that they get a chance to showcase. Now, I will say going to two nights for other big fours, we don't need it. Like, I don't think we need a two-night SummerSlam, and they're not doing that. I think, yeah, starting this year, we don't need a two-night SummerSlam, honestly. Like, I think for WrestleMania, the formula works, but for all the other big four, and the big four, for those that don't know, is the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. We don't need two nights for any one of those outside of WrestleMania. So that's what I'll say.
And I agree. And I'll say this. The very first WrestleMania that I watched growing up as a child in full was WrestleMania 24. WrestleMania 24 was, I'm sorry, WrestleMania 23. WrestleMania 23 was the WrestleMania that featured Batista versus The Undertaker. And I want to say that was probably one of the last matches, if not the last match. There is a certain heating and cooling, even as fans that watch from a TV, that takes
Absolutely.
place when you watch a show that is 4 hours or more long. And that was the last time I ever wanted to experience that. So as streaming has become more popular now and the attention to, detail, even streaming has become decreasing less. I think two nights is the formula. You
I
get
agree.
way more you get way more action. You get to tell a better story in a shorter amount of time or a longer amount of time. I think some people disagree with the 5 or 6 match PLE type, but I think it gives the wrestlers more of an opportunity to tell a story as opposed to just going out there and throwing caution to the wind and getting each other hurt.
More
We
time for people on the card and more air time for
yeah,
people. I mean, I agree with that. I can
I
agree with
think
that.
I think with just the decrease in injuries that we've seen in years recent with wrestling is tremendously decreased. I think this is just perfect for everybody. They do it now the safest way they can, the best way they can. They put out a wonderful product in my opinion, and they're able to keep their top stars on all of their most important shows.
I agree. I agree with that statement. I think they've done a really good job with making sure that injuries are addressed and injuries aren't a problem when it comes to the athletes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, they're athletes. I don't care what anybody says. They're athletes. They're sports entertainers, but they're athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can speak for myself. I hope I'm speaking for you guys when I say we're all excited here. Let me say this for WrestleMania this weekend. We'll all be tuned in. Hopefully, we'll be able to get out some content this weekend for it. So be looking forward to that. But if you're a fan, if you got some predictions, let us know what you think. What do you have happening? Any swerves or anything like that? So, but without that, I'm gonna go ahead and segue into some basketball. I got some games that I watched personally last night. Trae Young getting teed up and thrown out, and then the Warriors cruising, or not exactly
Can't keep
cruising.
getting away with this. They
They keep
can't
getting
keep
away.
getting away with this.
And I wanna really point out more specifically in the Warriors Grizzlies game that I watched last night that Ja Morant was injured last night, rolled his ankle pretty late into the third quarter with about 4 or 5 minutes. So he came up hobbling. He sat out for about 5 minutes while they worked on him. He did the treatment on the sideline, popped some aspirin, got back out there. I think that's really going to affect them when they get ready to play again this upcoming Thursday or Friday. But they got to fight to get in still with the injured player. What do you guys think about, the chances now playing again Friday and having to battle to get in and possibly doing it without their top star?
Whoever they play, I think they're done. I think they might as well just focus on next season, focus on possibly paying Jaren Jackson Jr. a super max because if he finishes on an all NBA team or he wins Defensive Player of the Year, which we'll get into the awards later, they will have to pay up. So they're going to have some some money situations. So they're going to have to figure out who they want to pay, who they want to trade, possibly. So I think this is one of these times where they might evaluate their future and be like, "Hey, should we just blow this thing all up together and then just focus on next season?" So
I mean, I think when you lose a player like Ja Morant, who's really a value to their team and pretty much what's keeping that team going. I mean, when you fire the GM and head coach for other teams that are going on around there, which we'll get into also later. I mean, makes you kind of question what his status is if you're going to pay somebody else, right? Like, where's Ja Morant going to go and what's it going to do to the team? And are they looking already for a rebuild? And if that's the case, where's Ja Morant going to go? Because now we see an injury. First off, I don't think it matters who they play in the next game. I think without Morant, there's no chance. I mean, you don't stand a chance to really win that game because Morant is your all-star. So that's my opinion on that.
And so the winner of that the game that they would have to play would be between the winner of the Mavericks and Kings tonight. Just for context, I'll let you finish, but I wanted to put that thought in there about who their potential matchup would be on Friday.
Doesn't matter if you don't have Ja Morant. Who's, I mean, is Clay playing tonight? I didn't get any updates. Is he playing tonight? Is he on the
I'm
court?
pretty sure he's still on the court tonight.
Well, then Mavericks. If Mavericks win, then they're not beating the Mavericks. They're not
yeah,
beating the Mavericks to move forward.
Sacramento, but still, I think they don't make the playoffs. Either way it goes, I don't think they make the playoffs. So yeah, that's where
So
I am.
and so consensually, I think we all agree that, in a 7 game series, especially with the injury, like
Oh
possibly
no,
some
no
type of
way,
ankle sprain or something like that, we just
no
don't see
way,
a way right
no way.
now where that would be something. So,
Especially
yeah.
going against a Thunder team that has they can defend. They're all around a deeper team than the Grizzlies. So yeah, so that's what I'm saying.
There's no
So
way.
yeah, yeah. Anybody who plays the Grizzlies, even if the Mavericks and Kings make it, they don't win no more than a game. They don't take more than a game off the Thunder, and that's all for pride. So that's all. That's what I got with that. So, but I think the Grizzlies might as well just hey man, we reached our ceiling. The best thing we got out of this was when we were a 2 seed 3 seasons ago back in 2022, and we got put out by the eventual champion Warriors. That's that was their peak. So
And so not to completely just disengage from the East Coast side of things. Last night, the Orlando Magic were able to overtake the Atlanta Hawks. Cole Anthony actually ended up being the hero for the Magic last night, 26 points. Paolo Banchero had kind of a abysmal game, to say the least, from the field. He went 4 for 13. Still had some pretty good numbers. Still put up 17, 7 and 9. The Hawks ended up losing by 25 or so. Like I alluded to just a few minutes ago, Trae Young was tossed from the game. A little frustrated just about the difference. At the time that I was watching that game as well, at the time of his tossing, the game was well within hand. I think there was still about 6 minutes or so. It wasn't something that I sought from his character per se. I could understand the frustration. I think it's more so just going to hurt his pockets more than anything. Um, so as of right now, the Magic are the 7 seed, and so the Hawks will have to wait it out until Friday to play or to host a play-in game against the winner of the Heat and Bulls game tonight. Any thoughts on the Magic as a 7 seed, or what might happen with the Hawks, who are kind of in a similar situation as the Grizzlies?
The Hawks are in rebuild mode. I think even with Trae Young, I think the Hawks are still sitting there. They're rebuilding slowly. They went from a good playoff run 2 years ago, and was it 4 years ago?
Back in the COVID, back in the post bubble era, the 21.
See, time flies.
That's
It
their
felt
peak.
like 2 years ago.
That was like we talked about the Grizzlies. That was their peak.
That was their
we
peak.
caught everybody in an odd year. After the bubble, after the championship, a 2-month off season, basically. The Hawks were one of the teams that I don't think they made it to the bubble, so they had a longer off season. So versus teams that actually did make it play in the bubble. So yeah.
And I say that because I see the Magic going on that same trajectory, where they're gonna peak here soon, but I think they're kind of close to it right now, and I don't think that they can beat anybody. Like if you put the Magic up against the Boston Celtics, they're just getting blown out.
I think the Magic will have to. I think a team like the Magic will have to run up against a little luck. Like it might take some big names on some of the more favorable teams for them to break through.
Right.
Kind of like what happened with I guess you could say Atlanta. I don't think nobody really got injured. I guess Ben Simmons was mentally injured per se with his whole situation.
But again, it's similar to that situation that they had, right? So now we're looking at the Magic, and I just don't see them really putting forth a team that's gonna really challenge the Cavs, or they're gonna challenge the Celtics. And I mean, so 1 and 2 in the East it's those two are close, but everybody else, there's no parity. Like there's no.
Even though Cavs got the better record, I feel this is Boston, this is Cleveland, and then you can go down maybe New York, right here. Indiana, it's a drop off between New York and Indiana.
And it's a difference of like on the win-loss record by like 15 games. Where you go on the West and you have much better matchups on that end, where 1 to 8 actually are all within 4 or 5 games of each other.
2 to 8, but I get what you're saying. 2 to 8. But we might even see I'm glad you brought it up, because we might see a situation where a 2 seed gets sent home early, all because you're running against a team that has championship pedigree versus a young team. But we'll see how that goes.
It just matters. All that matters is who you put on the court that night and how they play. I mean, and on the West, I feel anybody could take it right now on the West.
It's wide open, The West is always has been more wide open, because it's just like, you never know. But it, like in the East, is always, even when LeBron was there, it's like, LeBron coming out. And now it's just like, okay, maybe it's a 1 or 2 team race at the moment like now with Boston, Cleveland.
Like you said, 2 to 8, it's anybody's. And honestly, I think even from 2 to 8, they could put up a decent matchup against the Thunder. Now, I think the Thunder is going to steamroll the first round.
Eventually,
But I think when you start wearing down and you start playing all these games back to back to back, you're going to get some tired guys on the Thunder. SGA, I don't know how he's going to play. We're going to see.
It's all about matchups in the playoffs, honestly, too. So that's why you see rotations shorten up. We might run 8-9 deep in the regular season. Then when the postseason comes, you going it's 7-8 deep. So something like that.
And
so
1 million% that all matters.
But as far as like the games tonight, I know Chicago, Miami, and then Dallas and Sacramento. So I'm gonna take the Mavericks. I guess, hometown bias. And I'm gonna take Chicago. I know we got Heat culture, but I think the Heat are kind of like, I think they want to I feel like they want to position themselves for, a
It be
draft pick.
so I'm gonna agree with you on the Mavs. I think the Mavs will win tonight. As far as the Heat goes, I really want to pick the Heat because I'm a fan, but the other side of me goes, which Heat team is going to show up? Because they've been so inconsistent throughout the year, even without Jimmy Butler. They've won games, but they're inconsistent on when they win.
Yeah.
And I can't put my money on the Heat if they're not.
So I'm gonna take Chicago. That's why I'm gonna take the Mavericks and the Bulls.
It's hard for me, but I might have to take the Bulls to win. And, the Heat just focus on next year because they're kind of on that cusp of the lottery pick too. They're kind of on the cusp at the end of the season.
Yeah,
they're a literal mid Carter. You know what I'm saying? They're right there.
And that's the worst place to be compared to the NFL and NBA. That's the worst place to be when you're outside of that lottery. Like, because at least in the NFL, you can find a draft pick at number 15 and be like, oh, and then you get some free agent pieces and turn your season around. You might have went 7-10 the year before. Then the next season you go 11-6 and you make a playoffs. But in the NBA, you can find yourself 36 and 46, and then the next year you can still be right back in that same spot because you might have cap problems. You might have disgruntled players. You might have stuff like this. There's just so many. Yeah, there's just so many in that regard.
If I'm Miami, I'm looking to next year, and I mean, there's possibly a free agent that might be out there that might take some big money. Kevin Durant. You never know. If Miami wants to focus on a big player, bring a talent in. Kevin Durant wants out of Phoenix. You never know. I mean,
it's just that it has to happen. It's not even about.
It's got to happen.
It's a has to. It's a has to. Yeah, it's a has to.
Yeah, they have to. They have to have it happen. So
And I'm glad we brought that up.
Uniform.
So, because remember the first episode, I think we talked about, or did the second one? I'm like, what's the state of the Suns? They're on their third head coach in 3 years. Now they're about to be on their fourth head coach upcoming in 4 years. Devin Booker, who's been on the team since 2015, so he's in his 10th season. Next year will be his 11th season. So he's going to be on 8 coaches in 11 years. So his most stability was when they had Monty Williams. And each year under Monty Williams, they progressively got better. They went from, I think, they had that little bubble run. They went 8-0, and then they came back the next season. They made it all the way to the finals. They lost in 6 games. Came back the next year, had the best record in the West. I want to say at least in the NBA as well. They had the best record in the NBA. They got embarrassed in the second round versus the Dallas Mavericks, especially in that Game 7, 40-point blowout loss. So, and then they come around. KD becomes available. They basically trade the farm away for KD, and then the Bradley Beal situation. What a dumb move. They do that, and now we're pretty much into present day. Frank Vogel gets fired. Muncie Williams gets fired first. Frank Vogel gets fired, and now Mike Budenholzer, which I already pretty much knew the writing was on the wall. And then they got worse when KD was on the team. They went from making it to the second round, get bounced in the first round last year under Vogel, and now don't even make the play-in under Budenholzer. And my thing is, it's really not it's not coaching. It's how that roster is constructed. Because you can't have a big three anymore. The NBA has made it clear, you can't have a big three anymore. Unless it's a situation where you got an Austin Reeves who's homegrown, who's making himself into a star, and who's on a friendlier contract. But you can't have you can't have your top 3 players making $50 million apiece and think you're going to win a championship. So
it's a big 2 with depth. You need a big 2 with solid depth to really progress in the NBA. And you're kind of seeing that with Oklahoma City. You're seeing that with Boston. You're seeing that with a lot of these teams. Even the Lakers, the Lake Show. You're seeing that with LeBron James and Luka, and then Austin Reeves, he's coming in and he's playing a role, but they have depth. They have depth at their positions. If you go with the big 3, you're not paying for that depth anymore. And now your secondary guys are bench guys. You know what I'm saying?
Outside of Golden State, this is KD's second time running a big 3, and it's just hey, buddy,
it don't work. It don't work anymore.
And now you're getting older. It's just yeah, you still KD, you still hold value. You still can go get 27 a night, but on the flip side, you'll be 37 next season. It's do I really want to give up at minimum 3 picks and maybe 2 players for you?
It don't work. It don't work.
So they might have to, with the exception of Bradley Beal, because he has a no trade clause, they might have to get rid of. I know KD's gone, but Booker might need to be the one too to be like, hey man, we
Yeah,
tried.
I don't think Booker's going to last another year. I think by the trade deadline next year, if they don't do anything to help him out, he'll be out. And I think the frustration starts laying in, especially when you were a playoff team a few years ago,
A finals team
and a finals team, and now you're not even sniffing it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, I think at that point you're gone. All right. Speaking of the NBA, and now that the season's over, you guys want to get into some NBA awards?
Yeah, I want to hear all the other awards aside from the MVP because we already know, what's going on with that one.
We've kind of got that one down. Let's start off with Rookie of the Year. Who do you guys got? Drey, who you got for Rookie of the Year?
Rookie of the Year. I think I'm so. I think Stephon Castle still hands down was the best rookie overall this year. He had the most play time. He had the most, you know, statistically. I think by All-Star break he was doing really really great. Um, I think what the Spurs continue to do with young players is amazing. Um, the way that they develop them and have outside of Wemby, who was just written to be a star, the way that they take these players and they develop them and they make them into really great basketball players that we never even heard of, um, always always is really really great. I would have really liked to see Jared McCain win Rookie of the Year, but his injury a couple months back definitely detoured him. I would have even liked to see one of our very own players, Khalil Ware, win Rookie of the Year. But play time, some things that we did down in Miami to kind of make sure his progression was going well instead of just pushing him out there. But yeah, I would have to go with Stephon Castle.
I would agree.
I got Stephon Castle. I know the guy from the Hawks. I can't say his name. Zakur Rashir, whatever his name is. He's another number one overall pick. He's another viable candidate, but Stephon Castle.
I mean, Castle has 17.8 points per game average, and 4.8 assists and 1 steal a game since the All-Star break. I mean, those are like unreal numbers for a rookie. I mean, almost 18 points a game, 5 assists, and averaging 1 steal a game. I mean, that's pretty impressive. All right, Defensive Player of the Year. The general consensus right now is Evan Mobley and Draymond Green are both kind of neck and neck in the Defensive Player of the Year. I personally think Draymond Green should win it, in my opinion, and I'll give you guys my reason why. But Evan Mobley has actually averaged 9.3 rebounds per game and 1.6 blocks, and he has 18.5 points per game. So that's what's going for him. And Draymond Green's numbers are eerily close, or maybe falling short by like 1 or 0.1. So what do you guys think? Who you guys got on that one?
I got Draymond because of the versatility, and I think the way he can hold like opponent's shooting percentage a little bit. I think it's holding opponent's shooting percentage a little bit lower than Evan Mobley, but mainly because of the versatility and his IQ and his feel for the game, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And that's why he's able to still compete at a high level defensively at his age. So I'm gonna go with Draymond Green.
What do you think, Drey?
Yeah, I watched a couple games recently of the Warriors. I watched another game last night where, again, Draymond Green just continues to show that he's one of the best defensive players of all time. Not just in this league, not just this year. He's one of the best defensive players of all time. His defensive mind, his defensive presence, his ability to rotate, to communicate, to put his teammates in the right spot, to put himself back in the right spot, to predict what the offense is going to do, to know what tendencies or what pass is probably coming, to be able to play the passing lane and still protect the paint. There's so many things that he does well, and to see him continue to do it later in his career after really, in my opinion, earning a contract that we just talked about. We're not in an era of big threes anymore. And, unfortunately, I believe that if Klay Thompson doesn't get injured 2 years in a row, there's a much, much deeper conversation about who was supposed to leave in that situation.
Draymond is a Laker. Draymond will be a
Draymond,
Laker if Klay never got hurt.
Draymond won this situation because he plays defense. That's something that Klay Thompson really couldn't do anymore. His mobility limited him. I think Evan Mobley had a wonderful year playing with a wonderful team. I think outside of the coach and maybe a couple of all NBA players, I think it's going to be a pretty empty season for Cleveland. But and I hate that because Evan Mobley also is about to go empty-handed as well.
Yeah, and he's. I mean, you look at his stats. Like I just said, almost 9.5 rebounds per game, averaging. I mean, that's pretty impressive too. And nothing
Considering
against
who was
him.
playing alongside, considering who was playing alongside and Jared Allen, yeah, that's pretty
Right. And then you take that. The other thing that you kind of want to take into account, though, when you talk about Defensive Player of the Year, is like Evan Mobley he's great, but can he guard every position? And that's why I chose Draymond Green, because Draymond Green can guard anybody on the floor. To Anthony's point about the versatility, Draymond Green can guard literally anybody on the floor, and he wins defensively before the tip. He gets in people's minds before the tip off. Draymond Green wins the game. I mean, so you put that kind of value on it that you can't put on statistics. Like, you can't put that on a stat, but you put that value into it. I mean, to me, it's Draymond Green the entire way. I mean, in my opinion. Next award we got is a Sixth Man of the Year between Peyton Pritchard of the Boston Celtics and Malik Beasley of the Detroit Pistons. And anybody else you guys have in mind?
I'm gonna say I don't think he would win it, but Ty Jerome also deserves a little love from Cleveland. Another Cavalier that is up for the award, but may not win it. But I want to give him some recognition as well because his contributions off the bench in that lineup that they have is pretty well. But this is like a two-man race. I know you got Malik Beasley, a high 3-point percentage coming off the bench, and when Jaden Ivey went down, he basically became that number 2 star alongside Cade Cunningham. But as far as Peyton Pritchard, I guess in Boston, there's plenty of 3-point shots to go around, and he's been getting a plethora of them. Had his 40-point game in the midst of the season, so I would say he's the favorite.
Yeah, he's shooting 40% from beyond the arc, right?
And I'm pretty sure they shoot more threes per volume than Detroit is. So that's if you probably cut down some of those attempts, it might be a little bit higher. You never know. So, but yeah.
So I agree. I think Peyton Pritchard has it by a long shot, but I think Peyton Pritchard has it because of the team he's on. If you just look at the rookie themselves, I mean, I think Beasley is really deserving of it because he's shooting a really high free throw percentage, right? And he's definitely shooting a little bit better than Pritchard is from long range. So when you take that into account, I mean, it's only like a half a percentage point difference, right? So it's 40.5. But you look at, like you said, Boston is doing nothing but shooting threes. And if Pritchard's getting 20% of them and he's making 40%, I mean, that's still high numbers.
Yeah.
But then you take Beasley into account. The Pistons aren't shooting threes that much. They're not as much as Boston.
No.
So if you take that into account, I mean, I think Beasley as a rookie overall, and he's shooting slightly better at 40.5%. I mean, that's more. He's making more attempts and more makes, if that makes sense. Him individually.
Yeah. I don't want to skip over just giving some love to. He's not wearing it this year, but Zero himself, he's not going to win it. But I do want to, really, really highlight how well Russell Westbrook did play for the Denver Nuggets this year. He's not higher up on the Sixth Man of the Year award list than Peyton Pritchard or Malik Beasley, which I both think are much, much better candidates. But for where he is now, for his lack of bounce, how he's changed his game, we've seen quite a few people that we have watched at the beginning of their careers that lost bounce change their play style. Russell Westbrook has done a really good job at that. He plays a good defense, rebounds very well. I think, like you guys alluded to, the offensive prowess that Peyton Pritchard and Malik Beasley bring is what overshadows Russ. His bag just isn't nearly as deep. He's not as accurate or as sharp of a shooter as either of the two. Peyton Pritchard is playing on the best team in basketball, and because of that, his presence as a 6-man leading a second unit and a first unit is pretty important.
Do you think that part of that is it's not because of his play, right? Because he's played well this season. Russell Westbrook's played well, but is it because of his name and the fact that he was once the number 1 guy at Oklahoma City, and then now he goes to someplace else and He's gone to what, three other teams
Like
since he left
3 or 4,
OKC.
something like that. Yeah, like 3 or 4,
Yeah,
somewhere
so
around there. Yeah.
he's went to 4 different teams from OKC, and he hasn't been the number one. He's been kind of demoted. And the sixth, to me, the way I see the sixth man is that up and coming. He's not a rookie, but he's up and coming, and he's about to make that top one. You know what I'm saying? Like he's on the verge of being a part of that top, the big two or the big three or whatever they want to say. That's where I put the sixth man at. And I think because Russell Westbrook hasn't his name himself, whether he's had a great year or not, they're not going to see him as the sixth man. They see him as Russell Westbrook from the past.
Yeah, I get
I
you.
mean, yes and no. I think from the aspect, and we talked about this before, I think when you look at the criteria that he set for himself, and even in winning the MVP of being a triple double guy, I think that kind of overshadows his ability to win um, MVP at best, but I've always looked at Six Man of the Year as more of like a impactful player award, a player that plays the majority of, if not all, the games, starts in the few that they need to, and they're able to make the equal or better impact when they do start, just as they would if they didn't have to start. I think this is just with this award. Like I said, I think Russell Westbrook's inability to score as efficiently as Peyton Pritchard and Malik Beasley is just ultimately the difference. Malik Beasley is an incredible knockdown shooter, an incredible space creator and ball handler, and he's a facilitator as well, especially for a second unit in Detroit that doesn't feature very many elite ball handlers or scorers. You have to play as a cohesive unit. So with Malik Beasley having a couple years experience, and I think he's been to maybe one or two teams already. So he has a lot of game experience. He's able to control the game a little bit better. But like I said, my pick is Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard
I
is
agree.
undoubtedly, still he makes a great impact on that Celtics team.
Well, and I think the other conversation, and I agree with you. You can't knock Russ, right? But when you look at Russ, I kind of equate it to like if Klay Thompson was still on the Warriors, right? And you have Stephon Curry. I got the NFL on my mind. You got Steph Curry, you got Draymond Green, and you got Klay Thompson, right? Klay Thompson was the sixth man at that time when he was on that team, and now he's a number one. If you put him back on that same team, does he fall back to the sixth man, or is he now the new number one or number two, right? So you kind of got to wonder how that goes, and if Russ is kind of suffering from the same because he was a number one, and now I don't know. I mean, it's a very topical conversation that you really have to think about on that one, just for Russell Westbrook's perspective. But I agree with you that Peyton Pritchard's probably going to be sixth man of the year on that one. So, let's see. Most improved player, I have Dyson Daniels from Atlanta, who's improved his game and averaged about 14.5 points per game this season, and a career high for him shooting just a shade under 50% from the field at 49.5 as well. Anybody have anybody else that they think is
Kate
probably the most
Cunningham is
improved?
on that list, but like, let's be honest, I don't want to. Kate Cunningham was number one overall pick. I don't want to knock him. I know he's improved his game year by year, but a guy like Dyson Daniels, I will say, is more deserving because a smaller name that was a part of that trade for DeJounte Murray to New Orleans and shipped him to Atlanta. And he has a case for being a defensive player of the year candidate. Of course, he's probably not going to be amongst the
Oh
top two.
yeah,
He
not
might
this
be
year.
top five in voting. Yeah, he might be top five as far as the voting goes. But yeah, so I would say Dyson Daniels.
Right?
Yeah, it's very likely gonna be Dyson. I was just pulling up, looking at Cade's stats just to confirm, kind of what we were saying. Cade, yes, he has had a leap in 4 years that is about to command some money next year from Detroit that is going to be well deserved. Cade did have a great year. 70 games played, which is a career high. 35 minutes played per game, which is a career high. 26-point games, which is a career high. 6 rebounds a game, which career high, 9 assists a game, career highs. All career highs, definitely worth being in the most improved player category, and undoubtedly as a second should be. I think third in that list may have been like Christian Brown. But yes, Dyson Daniels, which, like Anthony said, was a part of the trade for Jawante Murray. Um, really, really exploded into the scene this year for the Atlanta. He also had some career high numbers: 33 minutes a game, 14 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, four assists a game, which opposed to last year's totals of 22 minutes a game, 6 points a game, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. So tremendous jump for a player that has potential to break out. We're looking at people to be co-stars or be more of a cohesive team for Trae Young in Atlanta. And he's gonna need players like that play very well, play their role. Don't have to be the big name. Don't have to go out and go sign somebody. And he's also an Australian-born basketball player. Little known fact, just in case anybody didn't know that. But as a 6'7" combo guard, he's doing pretty well for himself. Next year his fourth year will probably be the most important year, as far as to really tell what his leap is going to be. But if he does go on to win Most Improved Player this year, I feel like it's just as deserved as if K was going to win it.
I agree on that. Clutch player of the year. I mean, overwhelmingly probably is going to be Jokic. But somebody that's giving him a run for the money is Jalen Brunson in the New York Knicks. I mean, he's giving him a really good run for his money. As Brunson leads the league in points per game and field goals in the clutch moments of the game, which is 5 minutes to go with the score within 5 points. And Brunson seems to be the guy that's in charge of those. The Knicks are 17-9 in those clutch games with Brunson on the floor. However, you can't deny that Jokic, with the numbers that he's put up this year, I mean, you can't
deny that. Yeah.
Can't deny. In my opinion, you can't deny him as a clutch player of the year for the Denver Nuggets. I mean,
you don't want that as a consolation prize. Hey, we didn't give you MVP, but hey, you're the clutch player. Because
I'm pretty
like an MVP candidate winning clutch player is almost a slap in the face, in my opinion. Because it's like I very well could have just won the MVP. You know what I'm saying?
That's right, but they weren't going to give it to him they weren't going to give him a 5th MVP. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Now you're moving amongst us.
Yep. You're moving higher. Anything on that one, Drey?
So, my opinion has been firm for weeks now. It is not going to change. And, I hate that my guy isn't going to win the MVP, but as a clutch player, as the clutchest player on the floor, in my opinion, with the shot clock winding down, there's a consolidation effort here to get him an award. And I kind of feel like that's kind of why this award was even created to begin with. But it'll be really nice to just get him an award in his hand. He won't be hoisting his 4th MVP, but to win an award for a very, very good player, to continue to add to his legacy, his resume. Yay!
Yeah. And I said 5 MVPs. I must have just gone over on that one. It's 4
back to back, and then 2 in last year's MVP.
But I will say so. And Jokic is 4th in the league in total points scored, 2nd in assists, and for every 75 possessions, he averages 35.6 points per game, and 12.4 rebounds and 8.7 assists. So I mean, again, you're talking about astronomical numbers for anybody.
He's an analytics. He's an advanced stat darling.
I mean,
Jokic in the advanced numbers
he's putting up 2K numbers in the NBA. I mean, you put those numbers up when you create your own guy and you play on easy mode, and this guy's doing it for fun. You know what I'm saying? Coach of the year, it's a lot of the experts have it between Kenny Atkinson in Cleveland and JB Bickerstaff in Detroit. I think it's kind of hard to deny Cleveland with the record they had, plus their 15 straight game win streak that they had, and they're the number 1 seed. But you really can't take away from Bickerstaff turning Detroit from a 0 to a hero.
Let me get on let me say this high horse.
Go ahead. All you.
The reason That's funny because you can tie like JB Bickerstaff, I guess, with Cleveland. They reached their ceiling. Like it was good, playoff team, but it's like, hey, we want to break through, and they broke through with Kenny Atkinson, and then JB Bickerstaff goes on to a team that combined in the last 2 years won 31 games, and now what they're 44 and 38 this year. So it's just
Yep.
like that's nothing to like just push to the wayside.
No,
So
it's nothing
yeah,
to shy
but
about. It's nothing to
but I
shy about
will
at all.
I will give it I will say Kenny Atkinson because Kenny Atkinson has been an assistant. He was going to take the Charlotte job, but he backed out of it. Smart man. But I will say he's been an assistant for I want to say at least like the last 4 years after he got fired from Brooklyn. So, but him taking the team that was a 4 seed last year, and I don't even think they won 50 games, and taking them to almost close to us being a 70-win team. I don't know where they finished exactly. Maybe what 65, 66 wins. And so I will give it to Kenny Atkinson and yeah, I understand why they have JB Biggerstaff, but it's a lot of coaches you can make cases for. You make a case for Mark Dagnall, I'm sorry, being a repeat. You can make a case for Ime Udoka, the way how he got those young guys playing as a 2 seed. You can obviously make a case for JJ Redick, a team that got bounced in the first round last year by a coach that didn't know his left from his right when it came to game planning, got exposed in that area. And JJ Redick taking this kind of this same roster post pre and post Luca trade, had them
Yeah.
competitive, and then
Yeah.
so you can make a case for JJ Redick, and you can also make a case for Chauncey Billups, who I feel like they can potentially be the Detroit Pistons of next season. Like they're on the right trajectory.
You
So
never know.
I will say that. So yeah, it's like you can make a case for a lot of these coaches, but Kenny Atkinson is what I'm going with.
What do you think, Drey?
Yeah, Coach of the Year to me has always been a record award. Who has the best record? I don't really feel like it has very much to do about strategy or matchups or anything like that. And that's why I always feel like, as far as Coach of the Year and some of the awards that we present every year in the NBA should be included with the postseason. Because of this, there's going to be some better coaching in the postseason. When you only have to do it in 7 games or less, those type of coaching efforts, those type of coaching mechanisms, those matchups, those game to game changes, those mean more than playing 82 games where some guys coast, where some guys try hard. When teams feel like they're superior to others in the regular season, you start to see teams that get on a roll, they'll continue to press themselves forward in that area, and then in the postseason, as we fully expect for the Cavaliers to do, you see them fizz out or you see them get ready to flame out because it was all about the regular season. It was all about that. So, I'm hoping that Kenny Atkinson will be able to hoist the Coach of the Year award. I hope he's able to go into the postseason and make us believers. Do something that we don't see happening, but he's the favorite for a reason. They have the best record in the NBA. He certainly should be going home with a new trophy.
I agree. I agree on that too. Before we transition into the NFL, there is one more topic I wanted to touch up on the NBA, and it's about the playoffs. And we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but how do you guys think the Bucks are going to do? Because Lillard is out for at least the first round. He's been ruled out for the first round of the playoffs, and losing Damian Lillard for the Bucks, I think, really puts a damper on their postseason dreams. What do you guys think?
For the Bucks to even make it to the conference finals, Giannis is gonna have to get into his 2007/2018 LeBron bag. But I'm gonna just go ahead and go Pacers in 7. It's gonna be competitive, but I'm gonna say Pacers. They played the same team last year, so there's a little bit of that fire. And Dame and Giannis missed some games in that series last year as well, and they still, I think it was like a 6-game series. So and Indiana's like not that great defensively, so I'm gonna go Pacers in 7.
And Indiana's streaky too on offense. They can streak high and they can score a lot of points, and then they sit there and they fall off very quickly. They're streaky. So a couple things in the NFL we can touch on real quick.
I want to shout out to Tyron Smith on the excellent career. 5-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, and a all-decade team of the 2010s. It's unfortunate that injuries played majority of his career because when he was on the field, he was a force. The guy was a unit, had big hands.
He played
knee
a tough
braces on
position,
his arms. Yeah, had knee braces on his arm, and one of the most important positions aside from the quarterback in football as that
Yep.
left tackle position. So
He played a tough position in the league for as long as he did, for I think well over a decade. And
like 14 years.
You look at him and what he's done. I mean, well done, Tyron Smith.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Salute to
on
you, Tyron Smith.
your retirement. Way to go to sign that 1-year deal with the Cowboys on a ceremonial deal. Well deserved. Way to go on the Cowboys to do it right by him too. In my opinion,
once a Cowboy, we always gonna take care of ours. I will say that.
They did it right. They did it right, and they took care of them. But just a couple things I wanted to touch up on the NFL. My Miami Dolphins are looking to trade Jalen Ramsey, hopefully prior to the draft. However, he takes with him a $21 million cap hit. I don't know if any team's going to be desperate enough to do something like that and sign him and sign his contract unless they renegotiate a deal. But I see why Miami's kind of doing it. Is Miami on the sign of a rebuild now? You guys think Miami's looking to rebuild down in South Florida?
No, I don't really see them in a rebuild spot. I think all teams at some point have a player that they're always looking at that they say, hey, if we ever have to move some money around or we have to shift some stuff around, even with stars, I think as fans of teams, we look at stars, and we deem them as untouchable when really it's still just a business. If you're the highest paid player on the team and the statistics don't add up to where we feel like you're performing very well at an age where Anthony knows my rules. I'm big on once you're 30 in any type of franchise, there's you're about to be done. You're about to be on the outs. Giving people that are 30 or better a large sum of money has a very large responsibility that comes with it. I don't feel like he hasn't done his job at Miami, but I don't feel like he's exceeded the expectations that were set forth for him.
I agree on that. I agree on that too, because we signed him hoping that he would be a big playmaker, and for the past 2 years, he really hasn't been a big playmaker. He's been injured, and then when he does come back, he really doesn't produce what he should. So a couple other things. I know we're looking at doing a draft episode. So if anybody who hasn't followed up with us, we are looking at doing a draft episode. However, some of these mock drafts have Shadeur Sanders going to the Saints at 9, and I already know how Drey feels about that. He's made that abundantly clear that he would be very happy with Shadeur Sanders in a Saints uniform. But how do you feel? How do you think that feels about his confidence, and what does that do for the Saints, who now have Derek Carr injured? We just found out about that this week, that he has a shoulder injury and that he's going to be coming out, possibly not playing for the season. How do you feel that does for Shadeur Sanders at 9 when he was previously thought of going 2 or 3?
I think the biggest thing that's going to be important overall for Shadeur is to go to a team with a city like New Orleans, to be quite frank. Um, that's one of those cities where a franchise takes hold to you. They really embrace you. They get behind you if they really believe in you. For someone with the stature, the status, the the glamour, the glitz, some of the things that are going to come with Shador, I think is the right place for it to be embraced. I think New Orleans is one that doesn't really look at the antics as overly overwhelming because of how big the antics in the Big Easy are. It's already voodoo and witchcraft going on amongst the streets. So there's some spooky things that go on in Caesar Superdome. I think seeing him in black and gold after just watching him in pretty much black and gold for a couple years would just be fitting. I think this is something that I think his family would love. I think his father would love. I think it's perfect timing.
Throw
To
up the
be quite
Rolex. Throw
to
up the
be quite
Rolex in New
frank,
Orleans.
I'm very hopeful that next week at 9, as a franchise, we can just get the best player available. If
Mason Graham.
if the stars are aligned, if the stars are aligned and we don't have to trade up to grab him, just to say that we did, and at number 9, Shador Sanders is available, I don't think there's a way in the world that any of our fans would approve of anything other than that pick.
Oh, I think
No,
you're
go
right.
ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say I think you're right, but you also have to take into account that there's a veteran quarterback out on the market still too. Hasn't made up his mind on where he wants to go, and he thought he was going to go to a black and yellow team in the Steelers. Everybody was thinking that, and he hasn't made a decision yet.
Future Steeler.
But are we looking maybe Aaron Rodgers going down to the Big Easy?
The only reason that I could potentially not see it is because of our salary cap situation. I think our salary cap situation still precedes itself. You know, we're still giving Derek Carr a heap of money, and unless Aaron Rodgers is just okay coming with a lot of talent and not a lot of money, I think
And
that's
a
the
vet
only way
minimum.
that, yeah, I think that's the only way that we get him down to New Orleans.
Unless he just wants to play for a team who's going to win with that, which that roster is built to win. I mean, when you really think about it, they got a lot of talent on the Saints with now a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach. I mean, I think you're going down the right path on that one. I mean, my opinion. Anthony, what were you going to say? What do you think about Shadeur?
I was about to say, as far as like trading up, I don't think they got to move into the top five to trade for Shadeur. I think I want to say teams 6 and 7. I want to say they might can swap with them. They get on the phone like, hey, but kind of like what we did with when we traded back from Micah and the Eagles got our pick to take the Devontae Smith. It was like, hey, y'all got they basically over the phone had a handshake agreement. We taking this player, y'all taking this player. Okay, cool. So that might be one of those situations that goes on draft day. Like, hey, y'all sure y'all gonna get him, and y'all sure y'all gonna get him. We don't want any silly antics going on. So kind of a handshake agreement in that regard. But I don't think they got to reach to the top five. We keep hearing his name linked to the Giants, but as I previously alluded to, you don't bring in two veteran guys to draft a quarterback with your third overall pick to have him be a third stringer or per se. Like now we got the emergency rule quarterback in case your two quarterbacks go down. Like we don't do like I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
I,
so either.
I wouldn't even say first. I would stretch out as far as to say first round, yet alone a top 3 pick. I would stretch out to say, yeah, Lamar Jackson came in behind Joe Flacco. He didn't come behind Joe Flacco, whoever was the second string quarterback. You know what I'm saying? When he was the 32nd pick. So it's like, yeah. So I don't see the Giants doing that.
So before we sign off, and before Drey gives a preview of what we're going to be talking about here this week coming up, because we got a couple big things coming up this week. I do want to say that the NFL in the first round draft. I mean, we're gonna be interested to see what's going to happen in the first round of the draft because, from aside from picks 1 and 2 for the top 2 or 3 guys, the parity for everybody there on down is going to be very interesting to see how teams go because
That's all I'm
the
saying.
talent
BPA.
level is about even, and we can break that down next week. But that's all I got for on my end. I don't know if you guys got anything else, or Drey, you ready to send us home, buddy?
Yeah, before we get off, man, I just want to say, um, next week's draft is highly touted. It's definitely. I talked a couple years back during the bubble, or COVID year about changing of guard. I don't think that we as fans are appreciating enough that we are really seeing the changing of guard right in front of our eyes. Some of the talent that we are watching today is the talent that we're about to watch for the next 15 years. Um, you know, Especially with these collegiate prospects in the NFL or going from college football to the NFL, they have been very, 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 very well prepared to this point. We aren't seeing very many three and dones or one and dones or four and gones. We aren't seeing a lot of disappearing prospects anymore. These are guys that we are about to see for a long time. These picks that these franchises are about to make next week are about to be very, very big, and they are continuing to shape up rosters in ways that we see over time. So just because we talk about some of our favorite teams or some of the top picks, I'm still interested to see what your teams like Detroit Lions are going to do. I've watched
Yep.
them over the last couple of years make wonderful first and second round picks. We still got people like the Steelers who have later round picks that still have to be very, very one to be seen. We still have guys that we aren't even talking about as far as maybe in the first round, but we'll talk throughout the draft about where they fit, how the places that they're going may shape their careers. So we still may be looking at somebody like Jalen Milroe going in the second or third round and having a completely changed career based on who he's picked by. We still have a lot of players. Jack Sawyer still out there. He may be a late round guy. So just a lot to look forward to. But guys, on the next episode, we are looking to finally put in the three of our complete playoff first round predictions. So next week we will go through each series one by one and just go ahead and plainly say, hey, we got this team in 5, 6, 7, whatever the case may be. Next week we're gonna try to do, like we said, maybe another pre-draft show, and then maybe a live show. So that'll be really great if we can get that out. We'll also be doing a WrestleMania review, possibly a Monday, a Raw after WrestleMania review, maybe even a live viewing during WrestleMania. Hey, we'll try to cook something up. Maybe we'll get some people in, throughout these live views. I think all three of us, between the three of us, rather, I think we could all probably bring one or two people in to pop in, pop out, talk to us during WrestleMania while we watch. But it's going to be something interesting to put out there as well. So, other than that, man, we'll get ready to do some baseball. Everything's getting really, really good into it. We're in spring. We are so, so, so thrilled to continue to put out these episodes. These episodes have been fun for us. We hope that
Yes.
y'all are enjoying watching them. We hope that,
Yes.
y'all see something and y'all continue to share it or support us as you can. So,
Hey, Rafael, wrap this shit up. Excuse my language, but Rafael, hey, man, wrap this shit
I'm
up,
hungry.
man.
I gotta go eat.
I was about to say anything else, fellas?
I'm like, read the room, man. No, we good, though.
No,
But thank
my
y'all for
son
tuning in and
just
let me
busted.
say this,
My
man.
son just came in here yelling, and I was like,
Hey, we did. Hey, that's good timing, man. That's good comedic timing. Hey, thank y'all for tuning in and let me see this. I'm the one Anthony likes. I'm with Rafael Rose and
Yes,
Rodre
sir.
Davis. Hey, y'all sit back and relax while we serve up these facts. They might talk a little bit of that, but let me say this, and we out.